sometimes these things, I mean, you don't know, because I had a similar kind of thing that happened once, and I had to use only the audio and go ahead with it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sometimes these things just kind of.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Right, I'm just going to start recording. So we are actually live now.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and also on YouTube. So,
Okay.
So namaste and welcome everyone. I think there's a reason why we are doing this conversation. And, yesterday I wrote a Facebook post that in a sense, framed the issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm not great at recalling what I wrote. So I'm going to read it out so that it frames what we're going to do today. And, after that, I'll get into this conversation with Rama. So, there's been a lot of noise on on inclusiveness, but at the cost of culture, or how tradition and sampradaya must be subsumed and become submissive to modern values of liberalism, modernism, and other such standard tropes that have become that have been, in a sense, not just mainstream, but legitimized, weaponized in a sense, and more particularly against Hindus in particular. Like I said, so therefore it's only applicable only to Hindus, because Hindu dharma, to use one of those phrases that Shri Guru Rohit Arya comes up with, this is a characterological evil. This is something that Vamsi Jewelry also used repeatedly, crediting Rohit Arya for it, in terms of that the dharma as a character is inherently bad and therefore needs to be destroyed. And then an innocuous post on a friend's wall, friend being Rama here, opened the floodgates of wokeism and dhimmitude in one sense. A lot of so I reached out, and then even as I reached out, one of the thing, and she agreed, and therefore we said we looked at how we could frame the title for this conversation, and then we arrived at the culture of compromise. So most of us are expected to compromise, or compromise is kind of expected of each one of us. Meaning, if we were asked to choose between our culture and an imagined sense of hurting the sentiments of another group, which is to a large extent very intransigent, a term that Nassim Taleb uses repeatedly, we choose to compromise the culture rather than stand up for it. So that's the frame, and we're going to look at examine multiple themes. So welcome, Rama, and thanks for coming on board now. So
thank you, Ramesh, for having me the second time over.
Yeah, but this time it's not going to be as we are going to explore topics that are going to be slightly more for lack of a better word, we're going to be touching on things that are slightly going to be a little bit more controversial than we did last time, because the reason is because I certainly believe that we need to be open about discussing certain things without crossing certain lines. We obviously can't say a few things when we are in the public space, but at the same time, the very framework of freedom of expression means that we are also able to speak about these things. So let me start. The theme that I'm first going to be exploring is this whole idea of inclusive culture and accommodation, and specifically of how art must bend, change in order to accommodate the intransigence of, for lack of a better word, intransigence of a minority. And when I say minority, again, I must make it clear, I'm not talking of a particular religious group or a particular this one, but it's this whole idea that that we will not change, but an art or a sampradaya that has been there, existed for close to several thousand years, must change to accommodate the wills and whims of a few. So this hijab controversy, like I said, is only contemporary in that sense, and not really the whole thing. So it just happened to be there. So I'll start with asking about, can you just go back to how all of this started and why you were prompted to make the post that actually had this fallout?
Yeah. So to give a kind of a context and a little bit history to this, uh, I think with the advent of social media, um, I think several voices and several ideas and opinions have now found a way through social media to be out there. I have been observing in the recent uh, past that there is a kind of a constant, um, in layman terms, picking on several aspects of Bharatanatyam. Uh, and for a long time, I've just been observing, but I think I got a little um, upset with this whole thing about uh, can someone wearing a particular attire, in this case, the burqa, the entire head to toe covering, can they come and learn Bharatanatyam? So there was actually this thing post that I saw of a particular representation of this in an art form, like I think it was a cartoon or something, and then there were a whole bunch of people who said, no, it's not allowed because Bharatanatyam is basically Hindu and it has its religious context. And uh, so it irked me, and I kind of wondered, saying, what is this? Is this about the question of whether anybody from any particular faith can actually learn Bharatanatyam, or is it really about saying, this is who I am, this is how I will be, and it's obvious that I cannot learn Bharatanatyam because I can't dance it this way. So my whole point was to say that if you are looking at it as an art form, as a skill or as a talent, and can the vocabulary be learned, it can be learned by anybody, regardless of which faith you're from, what is your sexual orientation, how you look. Anybody can learn any dance form. I'm not talking only about Bharatanatyam. But somehow the way that entire post was written kind of bothered me, saying, now, is this about the ability of a person from a particular faith or a particular thought process to learn, or is it only about this thing that I will wear, but Bharatanatyam is not open to accept me? Which is why I made that post saying that with that particular attire, you cannot, because the way you would use the form, the way your hands will move, your legs will move, in that attire, it's going to be difficult. Now, if you remove that and you come in a comfortable cloth that helps you to learn this dance form, you of course can. And I was quite taken aback to see the backlash and the troll I received, because I have been writing constantly on so many other aspects. I've written about the Me Too, I've written about the Guru Sishya abuse, I've written about so many things, and nobody has bothered. And suddenly this was a little surprising, and it's good. I learned quite a bit. So I think that's where it comes from. There has been a constant, I would say, picking on Bharatanatyam by a whole bunch of people who believe that it has to be away from the concept of religion, the concept of the Hindu pantheon, and it is just anyway only a vocabulary. You can use that vocabulary to say whatever you want. Why is it being restricted only to a Muruga or a Shiva or a Vishnu and a Devi? Why can't it be anything else? So I think this was just this has been happening. I have been consistently observing this for Bharatanatyam. It has given me food for thought. Yes, it is a vocabulary. It is, it is a language. Anybody can learn. Anybody can do whatever they want with it. Till there, it is fine. So if you want to take a particular language and you want to say something, you want to use that to, convey something, of course you can do it. Please do it. But pointing fingers, picking on it, and saying this is what it is, I think that is where I have a problem with. Because this is what Bharatanatyam is. This is where it has originated from. This is what is the context. This is what it talks. Yes, it talks about Shiva, Vishnu, Muruga, Devi. This is what it is. So, and we've known it all along. So that's the.
Yeah. No, I just want to explore this a little bit more. So you talked about when you brought in Shiva, Vishnu, Murugan, Subramanyam, and all of that. What you also brought into the picture is that Bharatanatyam, in that sense, I mean, in that limited sense, is primarily, I mean, not just in limited sense, in a sense, is actually a Hindu practice. It's embedded within the Sanatana Dharma ecosystem. Now, if somebody else, so if I were to pose this question, if I were to ask you that if somebody else who does not believe in any of these Devis and Devatas that we have, but says we want to learn this dance purely because it's a dance form very similar to exercise or whatever, should we accept such a feeling? Because I know of several people, I know of people from other religions also, who have committed to and who actually are devoted to the devas, devis and devatas of the tradition. We have several dancers as well as singers who openly said that it's the love of the deity that has made them come into this practice and all that. So if somebody were to say this, I'm just posing that question as a devil's advocate, that we don't believe in any of these things, but we have every right to learn the dance form. We won't believe that it is, we have no belief in any of your gods, but we want to learn it because it's only a dance form. So how do we approach that? Because I have some thoughts, but I want to get your thoughts on that as well.
This is how I have figured it out for myself. Now, when you say somebody who doesn't even believe in our gods and stuff like that, right? And they want to learn the art form, can they learn? Yes, they can learn. What am I as a teacher going to teach you? I'm going to teach you what I have learned from my teachers and from my parampara, what I believe is Bharatanatyam. So in this format, I'm going to teach you some pure dance. I'm going to teach you Abhinaya. I'm going to teach you compositions. Now, what are these compositions? These compositions are based on the deities that belong to our Sanatana Dharma. Okay. This is what I can teach you because this is what I have learned. Can you learn without a belief? Can an atheist dance Bharatanatyam? Yes, you can. See, as long as you're looking at it as an art form, you're learning it, you're doing the Shiva, you're doing the Vishnu, you're doing the Devi, you don't believe in it, you don't believe that every time you're closing your eyes and doing this, you're actually manifesting Devi, it is perfectly okay. Anybody can learn it. If you come to me and say, Bharatanatyam, this is what I'm going to teach you. So nobody, dance is not restrictive in that sense at all. But I think my problem is to say, you teach me something, but it should not have Hindus. How can I teach you that? I can't create a vocabulary for Jesus or a Jewish, whatever, for a Greek god or for, I mean, that the possibilities are immense, right? And now if you take the Bharatanatyam vocabulary, I have a Vishnu Hasta, I have a Devi Hasta, I have a Krishna Hasta. Now you give me some person from a Greek culture, how can I, like, I don't know who is that. How do I show you the Greek god?
Right.
How do I show you Allah? Because he formless. How Christ I can do this but
yeah, but doesn't the tradition does not include any of those things. So
yeah, I mean,
and
again these words of inclusion and all, right? See, this is the context. This is how it has been. The vocabulary, the grammar, the hastas are used, and they are representing these, these characters, these gods, whatever you want to call them as. Now, if you want to learn Bharatanatyam, this is what I can teach you, right? Now, if you tell me change it, you include this, you include that, how am I going to do it? Which is why I said it's wonderful. So take this, and if you can create those extra hastas to represent those kind of whoever gods or who deities, then go ahead and do it. But this is what it is. What can I change?
Don't you see that when you say that go ahead and do it, don't you see the inherent risk in it? Because we also saw, right? I mean, Tyagaraja Kirtana said to biblical tunes, and all of these things. I mean, it also ran into a controversy, and you had the entire music fraternity in one sense divided into two sections, literally. People who said they would continue to do it, people who suddenly apologized and said we would not continue to do it, and because they got caught, and the others who said this is wrong and we've always been calling this out. So we had, in fact, not two but rather three distinct groups, and those groups continue to exist. We all know who, without taking names, we all know who is in what which group when it comes to Carnatic music itself. But the right, so now that we are very sure what this is all about, when you say that when you talk of the Vishnu Hasta, when you talk of Shiva and all of those things, I've always believed, and I wanted to get this from you, that Bharatanatyam, or for that matter, any of those dances that are part of the Indic ecosystem, the Sanatana Dharma landscape, are essentially practices that not only help the individual who's dancing or who's practicing touch the Shiva within or the Vishnu within, but also he or she becomes the conduit for the Devata himself or herself. And therefore, that is why these dances happened in the temples, because temples were not just about going there to worship some, but also about all of these things, the kalalayas, devalayas, and all of that. Am I right in that kind of an understanding?
Absolutely, it is one of the pathway.
Right.
If the practitioner,
touch within as well as the conduit of the Devi or Deva kind of thing.
It is a pathway for sure. Amongst the many paths that you have that will help you aid in your spiritual journey, this surely is one of the paths. There is absolutely no doubt about that. But like in other forms too, I as a personal practitioner, do I want to use this path for that inner realization, for that inner journey, for that spiritual, experiences, explorations? Now that is debatable. Does this aid a practitioner? For sure it does. But the bigger question is, does the practitioner want to use it for that particular purpose? It serves many purposes. If you want to use it for a spiritual awakening, you can do that. But you will have to be able to get into that mode, be aware, and you should be able to experience it. You should have additional practices that help you aid it. And then you should allow those awareness to permeate into your art and use the art as one of the channels to reach your awareness. But I can also just view it as an art form that I enjoy dancing, and I may not want to really use that as a pathway for my self-realization. Is it possible? Of course, is it possible. But does the practitioner want to use it that way? May or may not. Spirituality is really a very individual call, right? I mean, I must want to be able to do that. I must want to use this because it is a very easily available tool. Now, how many of us use it, whether we want to use it or not, I think should be left up to the practitioner. It's not a blanket rule, which actually brings me to the topic that we're talking about, this coloring of the art, right? Because I'm a dancer, it doesn't necessarily mean that I am a naturally awakened or a self-realized or a divine entity. Now, I'm just saying the general perception is that, oh, you're an artist, oh, divinity, Saraswati Taranhe. No, it is really not like that, right? I mean, we are artists, but am I Am I in that path myself as an individual, to be able to look at my life and use them, for my inner awakening? And this is a very common misconception in art. For example, let me try and tell you with this example. So there is one composition on the Tanjavur Brihadeshwara. It's a very popular Padavarnam. So in that one line, the Naika, the heroine says, "Oh, no, it is on the Tiruvarur Tyagesha." So it says, "Oh, Bhoga Tyagesha, Anubhogam Shayaba." Please, actually, she says, "Come and unite with me." Okay. So there is one whole vision of saying this unison is actually about a sexual unison. Then there is another pathway which says, okay, all my kundalini will awake, my sahasrara open, he will come in. Now with my hastas, I can show all the 7 chakras, I can open my sahasrara and say there is a being, it is coming and I have it. Do we really know what is kundalini awakening? I mean, is it so, are these profound concepts so easily, why are we short selling it? Right? This is something I'm grappling with. Let us not make spirituality and profound concepts let's not short sell it, because it's very deep, it's very profound. And are we all really there? I don't know. I really don't know.
No, fair enough. I think maybe we are not there. I think what I also meant is, given that our art forms are primarily embedded within the divine, within the divine, as in touching and all of those things, because all of those things, I was, harking back to the first point that we discussed about people who don't really believe in any of these things, believe in the divinity of the art form, but still want to be not just be able to learn the dance form. I'm fine with people being able to wanting to learn the dance form, but wanting to influence the way the dance form is actually in its present or in its historical, cultural practice, influence it without actually investing in the dance form in terms of believing in it, in terms of having the faith or having the shraddha towards it, but learning it only as an art form, but at the same time wanting to dismantle it and deracinate it in a sense from its spiritual core. That was the this one. So do these people, while they have every right to learn the dance form, I feel that they do not have the right to influence how where this dance form is rooted in, and where it is rooted in is in the dharmic, in the Sanatana Dharma ecosystem, because that is the attempt that I'm, in a sense, not in a sense, I think quite a few people are seeing it for what it is, because there is this expectation, and therefore I want to make this, I'll frame this into it. There is this expectation that the art form must morph, change into a different kind of an animal in a sense, and whereas the people will retain all that they want to, the freedom to criticize it, the freedom to live their lives as they want, the freedom to do everything, but they will not take even one step forward towards accepting that there are ground rules, there are traditions, there is a cultural history and legacy that is crucial to the very survival of that that system, because we have consistently seen that every cultural system that has allowed itself to be taken over by modernism, taken over by wokeism or liberalism that we talk about, has not survived. One of the things that I always laugh about is when people say that Sanatana Dharma has no restrictions, you can do as you please. It's not that. There are set rules, there are set traditions, there are set principles that you need to follow. Just because you don't follow, you can't say that it's completely free and do as you please. What actually is that there are boundary conditions, and within those boundary conditions you can work around. You can say, okay, because there is no book that we follow, there is nothing that we do. It's just that there are there are these beautiful revelations that have come where the seer saw all of these things, and how this seeing has happened is only interpreted across multiple sampradayas. It could be whatever. That is the only thing that is free. It's not like you can do what you want. So that's something that I wanted to move to now.
Yeah, I think the answer is very much obvious in whatever you're saying. It's happening. It's been happening for a long time.
So how
And it
when did you
happens.
see this actually getting mainstreamed, starting, or it's been something that's or
No,
do you
it's
see it
been
accelerating now?
it's been percolating. I think see this whole thing happens when a practitioner somewhere begins to feel that the dance is restricting them from saying what they want, using dance to express anything and everything that they think of, addressing issues and social causes through dance. So these thoughts have been there for a long time. But I think in the recent past, I would say maybe 5 to 6 years, there has been a kind of an increase in the number of people wanting to attempt these digressions, and they are all out doing whatever they want with it. And also, unlike, and I want to say this, unlike the um, what can I say? Unlike the music scene, right, where you don't really have that kind of a liberty to take a Tyagaraja composition because you'll have a whole bunch of them come after you. In dance, we don't have anybody. The so-called teachers or gurus are not really putting their foot down and said, "Hey, you're my student, you can't do this," or a group of the what do you say, that so-called torch bearers or the seniors. They are not really making a comment, or they are not really coming together as a group and saying, "Hey, I think this is going beyond the scope of what has been our sampradayam, so this is not done." Those voices or those restrictions are not there, which I think enables the practitioner to do whatever they want. This has already been happening. It has been morphed. Bharatanatyam has been mixed with that and this, and ballet and yoga, and
Fusion.
it's become fusion, it's become popular. The certain vocabularies have changed. There are more jumps, it's become more acrobatic. So I think as we talk, the morphs are already happening, it's been there. And I think it will continue to be there. It's a very valid question to ask how long this is going to survive. I would really be interested to see, because I don't think this will last very long. I hope it does not. And I also think if one looks at it from the view of the social media, because I think that is what is empowering all these dancers to just go ahead and put in whatever they want. If that were to be set aside and one begins to think, saying, what is my art form? What am I doing with it? How long am I going to do this? If they get into the path of some self-reflection, retrospection, I think I think things will slowly change. But the point is also that, Ramesh, if something has to survive or if something has to be adhered to, you need strong pillars, teachers, gurus who say, "Hey, just take a halt and see what you're doing. This may not be the right path. Why don't you consider this?" I don't think we have enough of such gurus or such teachers. And the question is also whether these young brigade are going to listen to them, or whoever it is are going to listen to them. I don't see that happening. That kind of a hand holding, or that kind of a strong voice to say, "This is not done, this is not what this stands for." You want to do contemporary, go all the contemporary way. You want to do fusion, please go. That is a world that's in there, but don't take this and don't morph it. Nobody is saying it, because everybody wants to be free. Everybody wants to use art to say whatever they want, and they all have an audience. They all have social media. Nobody is stopping them. Nobody is restricting them. Then there's a whole bunch of people who like what they do, who are appreciating it. So I think it's already gone beyond control.
You don't think it can be reeled back? Is it? I think that this is the reason, if you look at, that there is this complaint that is made that the dharma gurus and all of them keep saying, don't give up your tradition, practice, do this. The reason is actually this, and it would they may not be saying it, but the reason for them insisting on practice, on keeping up the tradition, it's very difficult. For example, people say, there is this SBNR, spiritual but not religious. You don't want to you don't want to do anything that that the tradition demands. For example, the approach to any path is actually, there are clear rules that define how you need to approach it. There are clear steps that you need to take, but people don't want to take it. And the reasons why the dharma gurus say, these practices have to be, these things have to be practiced and certain steps have to be followed, is also because history tells us that if we do not continue to hold on to tradition, if we continue to keep chipping away tradition slowly, one at a time, it's not about saying that we must not become modern. It's not about rejection of technology. It's not about any of those things. It's simply, we are accepting all of those things. I mean, we are not saying that we are not going to be doing performances online, or we're not going to be, we are even speaking today online on this. I mean, we're doing it. All we're saying is that in order for something to survive, and the reason why Sanatana Dharma has survived, the reason why we continue to at least whatever we have, is because there are a few people who have stuck on and held on to the traditions and the principles. And I'm happy that there are multiple sampradayas, there are multiple, it's not one unified body. Because if it was one unified body, then, if we would have actually had a greater loss that would have happened, is what I'm thinking. So
no, you're absolutely right. So I have the same question. So if in the dance field, who are these gurus? What are they doing? How much are they holding on to? How much are they convincing their students? How many teachers are having dialogues with their students, saying, this is the context, this is the history, these are the multiple narratives, this is how the tradition is flowing. So this becomes our responsibility to carry that. So, watch what you're doing. One is to tell the student you can never do that, but another is to open the different windows to the student and say, this is there, this is there, this is there, and we have this is our history, and this is the context. So therefore think about it. Who is doing all that, Ramesh? I don't think that is happening, because if it did, so much of so much of, what do you say, morphed versions would definitely not be there. It's very evident somewhere. I think at the base level, in the name of freedom, in the name of enabling students to think early, individual thinking, I agree to all this, but you still have to have a rein and say, there are certain things that has to be done, there are certain things that must be done, and there are certain things that cannot be done. I don't think that is happening. It's been my observation, because I think if it did, we wouldn't have so many morphed versions. And also, how many students listen? And if one teacher is not in line with their concept of being a star dancer, they'll just go to somebody else, or they have the basic stuff, they'll create on their own, which is what is happening. Everybody is posting productions, everybody has a version of Mahabharata, Kunti, Draupadi, with the contemporary context, breaking patriarchy. I mean, who is to stop? Tell me. And I think, like everything else we have been observing, it has also definitely percolated in the art space. There is no doubt about that at all.
This is, I mean, if there is a contemporary example that we need to take, we have to take the example of yoga. for example, the moment, we were celebrating how yoga has gone international and all of that. But within the space of the moment, and we said yoga has got nothing to do with the Hindu dharma. It's India's gift to the world, and all of those things were sold. Now we have beer yoga. Yeah. We have all sorts of yoga. I think hot yoga, cold yoga, all sorts of yoga, because yoga has been now completely. I mean, it's clear that we have lost yoga. We have lost.
Of course, we have.
Yoga. I'm reminded of my sister's father-in-law is a very famous yoga teacher. He is Surya Narayanan. He used to say, whenever these people changed certain yoga poses, and he used to say, "The yoga like the gymnastics." He used to
gymnastics,
say. Yeah. So clearly, I mean, so now I'm constantly reminded of that when I see what's happening to yoga. And what you said, you're saying that you actually predicted the demise of even Bharatanatyam in a sense. You said you're not yeah, or rather you're saying are you saying you're flogging a dead donkey now?
I am not, because I'm very convinced. I have a very, I'm not trying to be I don't know what's the word. I'm not trying to pinpoint at anybody, but I have a very clear conscience, and I know what I have learned, and I know what I'm imparting to my students. I sleep very well in that aspect. I will not compromise. I will not break my tradition. I will not go certain. I will not go beyond certain boundaries. I am very convinced with the art that is bestowed in me. I understand the multiple narratives. I can. I see the value in it. When someone is giving me a different perspective, I can absolutely accept it. But I have unflinching faith in what my art form can do for me. So for me, my art, what it stands for, is very much alive. And there is no going back for me. I don't have a shred of doubt. But I do feel bad that I do wonder why many people are not able to see it. I feel bad, but I think that's the way it is. So what can I do? I can tell my students, I can share with them my experiences. I can tell them, these are the windows, please look. And I can tell you that when a teacher makes that attempt to open those doors and windows, the student will see. How many teachers, A, are convinced about this and are taking the...
Just give me a minute. I think
bad, but I hope that's the way it is. So what can I do?
There's a feedback that's coming that came from the YouTube.
Yeah.
So it's talking back to you. So
yeah. So I think it becomes more like a personal responsibility, a personal code of integrity that one has to follow. So I think that's all one can do. Cause ripple effects, maybe.
You spoke about the Guru Shishya Parampara, and I happened to read that article that you wrote in that I forget the name of the magazine.
Nartaki.com.
Nartaki.com. Yeah, that's the one that's run by Anita Ratnam, right? Yes. Right. So I'll just quote one particular paragraph about from what you wrote. You said what it stood for historically, spiritually, and in the economic sense is already written in pages of yesterday. What it is now and how it is abused now is a relevant question and a cause of introspection for both the teachers and the students. This was in the context of, you hinted at certain issues and the abuse of the Guru Shishya relationship and all of those things. So the question I had is, I would like you to unpack this Guru Shishya equation, how that is, how it existed and how it changed. One. Two is also, if possible, address the question that, in a sense, are we conceding now that some things have changed irreversibly, and what are those changes?
Oh, this is a very large topic in itself. I'm just thinking how easily to put it, because it See, when I say we all have to introspect what it is right now as teachers of dance and as students of dance. As in all spheres, the entire equation, what a teacher stands for today and what a student is, has changed. Uh, Therefore, because of that change, it has led to a lot of lot of channels which can cause a lot of problems. Power play, sexual abuse, mental abuse are absolutely rampant, all in the name of saying I can make you as a great dancer or I can break you as a great dancer. It is absolutely rampant. Nobody will talk about it. They will hint at it, but it is there. When somebody, I mean, if somebody passes away or something like that, there'll be one whole stream of thought and it's forgotten. There is no active talk about it. We've seen it happen at the music level too. Very renowned people were called out, but they are continued to give performances. They are continued to be awarded. They were okay with me, so I cannot speak about this. Is a common thing. As a guru, what am I? Am I the guru that my Vadyar was? That the Sampradaya, the Vadyars of the yesteryear, like Guru Ramaya, Badubu Ramaya Pillai, Kalyana Sundaram Pillai, or the greats? No, I am not like that. I am not at all equipped to be a guru because they were very well versed with so many things. They knew literature, they knew so many languages, they knew Puranas, they knew Itihasas, they knew music. Do I know all that? No, not many of us know, very, very few. So in terms of caliber, technical skills, as a teacher, I have already come down several rungs of the ladder. What am I imparting? What am I imparting to my students is also proportionally come down. I am just teaching I'm just teaching a dance form, and I'm not also very keen to hold you on throughout it. I cannot have very strict boundaries saying you must not, because if I say that, the student will run away. So we can't hold back saying, I mean, we can't say I'm the guru because I'm teaching dance. I come from this guru parampara, so I'm a guru. Am I? Do I have that much of a, what do you say? What is that word in Sanskrit? I forget. I'm not getting that word. Am I really worthy enough to sit on that mantle of a guru? That one retrospection, I think all of adhikaram. Do I have it? No, right? We also live in different times. We are not equipped with that kind of a time because art is a parallel, thing that runs in our life. We are doing our regular studies and things like that. So using the yester connotation of a guru, I sit on the throne, I say I'm a guru, I have so many disciples, I'm learning this dance form, so I can do what I want, is a bad way of carrying on that tradition. So, which is why I say we must introspect. And as students, how loyal are we to our teachers? Students just don't stick to one teacher. Today, you look at one dancer, they have multiple their guru list only learns, because there's so many gurus that they go to, so many workshops. And if you go to a workshop, you must mention that dancer. So by the time I finish the resume, they have 20 people on them. How is this any parampara? How is, see, it's bizarre, right? But it really is like that.
Yeah. So this guru hopping has become fairly.
Oh, it's rampant. It's now workshop hopping. So for one audible, for a basic my posture, I'll go to one person. For my face, I'll go to another. For body kinetics, I'll go to somebody else. No, earlier days you cannot go. I mean, I cannot leave my teacher and go and learn from somebody else, because who is this teacher? This teacher, considering that you're beginning to learn an art form, say from the age of 6, which is the 6 or 7 when the ideal age. By the time you learn the basic tenets of the art form, it is some 15, 16 years. So your teacher has seen you through that entire process, and the teacher knows how capable the student is. They know the strengths and the weakness of the students, and therefore a continued period of time, the teacher will enable the student to bloom as an artist.
So when you
Now
say
if
15,
I
16 years, you're saying 15, 16 years of age, right? So which means 9 years of
yeah, nine,
yeah, right,
yeah.
yeah, not
That is I'm
15 years
saying
of
if you have
practice. Yeah.
regular
Mm-hmm.
practice. And so overall, say
Right.
let's just take 10 years. You start at 16, by the time you start at 6, by the time you're 16, you would have pretty
16.
much done the basic tenets of your your art form. But now I start here, then I go to some workshop here, I go to some workshop there. So then what are we saying? We belong to a Guru Sishya Parampara. I am Guru. I have so many disciples.
Hmm.
It's bizarre, no? I mean, it's just so obvious that they're not
Right.
even on the same page.
Correct. The parampara in its very essence means a lineage. I mean, there is no lineage.
Yes.
You've gone to multiple people already. You've explored multiple things, and then
And parampara also means that I value what I have received,
right.
and it is my duty to impart that same thing to you. If I have learned a few compositions from my teacher has learned from her teacher, she has learned from her teacher. So that is what passes on. So when I
Correct.
sit as a teacher, first I must teach, I must share what I have learned. And only when I share, the student will know where it is coming from. The continuity is there. When I break that and I begin to teach you something of my own composition and I disregard what I have received, it's already cut there.
But
Right?
the argument, Rama, that will be made is that should I not experiment? Should I not try something of my own? So I'm just playing the devil's advocate here. Should I not try? I have every cell in my body is creative, and therefore I'll come up with my own dance form. That is how the dance has survived. This is the argument that you will hear, or rather I'm sure you've heard more often than not. So how do we address that? I see the essential requirement of what you're saying, that there has to be an unbroken thread that passes one from. That's the whole idea of a tradition or a sampradaya or anything. It's like passing on one thing from the other, and that's exactly how Sanatana Dharma has survived, nowhere else. So when we break it, we are essentially saying we are killing the very system. But I also want you to address that that the argument that will come up, saying I'm creative, I do new things, so let that become the new sampradaya.
It has already become that. See, I'll give you one example. Now say I'm doing muruga, okay, in a composition that my teacher has taught. I have done muruga like this. When I'm teaching my student, if she finds it initially a little awkward, I can say, okay, first keep muruga like that, then keep muruga like this, then keep muruga. Here only you have 3 variations. It's not that my teacher told if you keep muruga like this, it's not muruga. It's not. It is muruga. So when you're already transmitting, when your teacher has given you possibilities, you tell your student, hey, this is the word. These are the different ways it can be done, and this is not etched in stone. There only you have possibilities. This is a very small example, right? So these kind of possibilities within the framework are already immense, but it is for the teacher to tell them that when you do these things, these are the possibilities. So when the student views the possibilities, they don't feel restricted. So if one perceives dance like that and says, and is also enabling the student to look at it in a slightly relaxed and a slightly versatile nature, the student will definitely take it. I have seen it happen. My teacher she said, the teacher taught me this, but you can also do this. That is
Right.
anyway there in the art form, right? Nobody said you have to do only like that. Nobody said you have to sit only under that tree and meditate. Today, people are saying wherever you are, close your eyes and take a breath. But the essence is the same, right? So the whole concept of I have the freedom, I can do what you want, you definitely have the freedom to what you want, but you should learn. You should know what your subject is for you to be able to find the freedom later. The problem is when you don't spend enough time, enough possibilities, how many different ways can you perceive a text? How can you communicate? When you don't know the technicalities and you jump, you jump and you say, I'm going to create, then your creation becomes very limited. If you study enough, you learn from your teacher that the multiple possibilities, And then you will arrive at a point where you say, hey, okay, now I think I can try, now I think create. Then your creation is that much more meaningful. The problem is the hurry. Nobody wants to spend time, the teacher and the student, because if the teacher is teaching 100 students or 30, 40 students, once the first student does the Arangetram, the lineup has started. So if I have 30 students and I do an average one Arangetram per year, you imagine when I come back to the first student, where is that first student? It's gone, right? And it's going to take me so much of time to train all these people. But in those days, the gurus did not have 30, 40, 50. They were not running academies of hundreds of students, multiple batches. They had few students and they gave everything to them. Therefore, the students had the ability to grasp the art form in multiple perspectives. And then they grew, they grew organically. Today, that is also restricted, right? I have to teach, I'm teaching the same set of compositions for everybody. They're all dancing the same. As a teacher, do I have the time to look at every child individually, see what they are good at? Can I enable the art form so that it suits their body? So therefore the repercussions.
Things I mean, the more we unpack this, the clearer it's becoming that we are in real deep trouble. I mean, that's what we are coming to. In fact, I wanted to ask about abuse, but I think you already touched upon it when you said the kind of abuse that happens, and you also touched upon that. So I'll go to this, this one of the topics that I'm particularly interested in, not necessarily related to dance, but it's something that impacts your you as well. You meaning your ecosystem as well. No, that is the social justice and liberalism in the arts. This whole idea that we need to be. Now, my point is that liberalism is a modern word, and I touched upon this, saying that history has always told us that every culture that has chosen liberalism over tradition, who have said anything goes, these traditions are useless and all of that, we have seen that civilization has collapsed under its own weight and under its own this one. It's just that people talk about how fragmented we are. They talk about unity. I'm saying, they will talk about caste, they talk about this, they talk about jatis and all that. I'm saying you survived only because of those jatis, because I mean, it's only because you are divided into so many different groups, and there was so much in group what do you say, in group unity within that, it survived as group. So that was the now the boundary conditions also we spoke about. So why is there a need to bring liberalism into the art forms that are already embedded within a dharmic, that there is a framework that already exists, right? So why do you want to bring it? And I'm also going to be reading out a few paragraphs that I highlighted from an article, one of our favorite whipping boys. So before you take up that question, for example, I've not seen an article that goes back and forth in terms of its contradictions. It's about T.M. Krishna writing about, does uniformity bring about equality? Think again. He's talking about uniformity. He says, but what about the argument that uniformity can achieve social justice? The question here is that of agency. The right and the need to change something has to emerge from those who belong to the practicing community. Whether some habit is a choice or an imbibed norm is very difficult to ascertain from the outside. The dialogue has to begin from the inside and develop into a groundswell. This is a much slower process, but only then does it become sustainable. Our job is to listen, learn, and be allies, he says. Most importantly, we must not point fingers or deride the community. This results in the isolation of those who want a constructive debate on the issue. Now, the question I have is, it's all very beautifully framed, but he has consistently not followed even one of the rules that he himself lays out. I mean, the kind of abuse that he indulges in, the kind of things that he says, Whereas he waited for the groundswell to develop, whereas he built the consensus, where none of these things. So from where does all of this come is what I have. If you have an answer to this, because I'm going to be reading out a few other paragraphs also, which are very interesting. Because when you read it out like this, you actually start, the wheels start turning in terms of what they're trying to actually say. So
idealism. And see, we all want our space, we all want the space that we inhabit to be in a certain way that is conducive to all of us. Intentionally, nobody, I think so, for most of it, nobody wants to live in a very disharmonious space. If you look at the performative arts, I'm a performer. I want equal opportunity as much as the other dancer to, if one dancer is going in this A path, I also want the same opportunity to go to that same A path, because that A path is the marker to say that I have reached, I am a dancer or a musician of this caliber. For example, let us take the music academy. For example, for today, it is considered as the topmost academy, and any artist who is up on the music academy has kind of arrived. Yeah, to a large extent it is, because once you are on the music academy, the amount of opportunities and the visibility that you get is open. Now, how does one reach to music academy? Right? So the art space that we inhabit, right? These are all, like you said, very beautiful words, but the actual ground reality is none of these are there in the dance space at all. There is no unity. No dancer will speak up for another dancer. A simple thing like if I have an opportunity here, I will not share that opportunity because I am insecure. I will not warn other artists saying, hey, this may not be the place where you want because this person is like that. There is no support system. If you are fighting alone, because there is a general fear saying, hey, if I am if I am also putting my voice into something like that, even the meager opportunities that I'll get will go away, or I will, we are flooded with so many insecurities, and our dancing span is so short within a particular time because it is a visual art form. I must make or break into the scene, right?
Unless you are some people who seem to be dancing well into their 80s and 70s.
Yeah. 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 And also the ecosystem, right? If you look at how it has been earlier, I'm saying, say 50, 60 years back, how does one know a dancer or a musician is good? Word of mouth.
Right.
First of all, there will be very less in number. There will be one kitchery, so many people will go. They will say, oh, he's singing well, he's dancing well, she is good. And the word of mouth spreads. And then you will go, you'll call the organizer, then the organizer will see, then they will invite. Today, at the click of an SMS, in 5 seconds, you can pretty much judge the caliber of a dancer. First and foremost, most of the dancers will be the same. They're all jumping, doing acrobatic stuff and looking ethereal with all their diets and everything. So more or less, now as an organizer, how do I ensure that they all have equal opportunity? Going beyond the fact that somebody is going to say, my student, you give me next year, I will give your student, or somebody putting a pressure saying, this has to go in here, somebody paying for that performance. Let's look at the ground reality. Let's see if the ecosystem can accommodate so many dancers. There are more dancers than performances. So what is this idealism of, sorry, I don't, it's hard for me to believe in those words and what he aims to say, because in reality, it is absolutely chaotic. It is filled with insecurity, and rightly so, because that is what the ecosystem is made of. So what are we?
He is this one that he's writing it. He's waded into the the Karnataka controversy. What's happened to
Yeah.
Udupi. It's that which he's saying, but he's also bringing in, because I'll read the next one. So No, he makes the irony in this uniform conversation is the coloniality of the school uniform. Wonderful. This is actually right. I actually agree with him on this one point. Many argue, he says, that the school uniform enables equality. How? Irrespective of the common color in pants, shirts, skirts, or salwars, schools are cesspools of casteism and patriarchy. There he comes. Just 2 paragraphs earlier, he said, we must respect community, we must allow people, we must not point fingers and all that. Then he said, so which I'm assuming that he's pointing to the Hindus, right? I mean, he says cesspools of casteism and patriarchy. Then he said clothes do not hide differences or equalize students. Fair enough. Our social markers are far more insidious. Our social markers, and this is connected to casteism, patriarchy that he pointed to in the previous sentence. Instead of dealing with the underlying discrimination, we pat ourselves on our backs with superficial plugs like uniforms. Now look at the plug that he's actually made. So he has quickly now said that Hinduism. This is exactly what it means to say that the Hinduism is a characterological evil. He's painted it so beautifully. He's saying for the others, he's saying it has to come from the community. Don't tell them what they need to do. Even if you're a school that has in its policy document that there has to be a uniform that everybody has to wear, irrespective of the religion that you belong to, you will accommodate the other because the groundswell has to happen from within the community. But when it comes to here, you will say you're casteist, you're patriarchal, you're this, you're that, without allowing the groundswell to build or to build. None of those things will apply here.
Yeah, true. I agree. I agree to your point.
And then again, he says uniforms also cause inter-school hierarchies. They provide information on the status of the school, the social class of the students, and their locality. All correct. So even if we believe uniforms hide certain things within a school, there are still labels used to typecast and discriminate against schools, and by default, the children who study there. Fair enough. Since a society is segregated by caste and religion, everyone knows what kind of children go where. There again, he'll come back to that, where every single time he will say that this one, and then the usual tropes of how Jai Sri Ram is actually a weapon that is used. It's no longer so this is what I just wanted to bring about, this whole idea that the tradition needs to be broken, essentially because the tradition itself is wrong. That is the argument that is being repeatedly made, and unfortunately finding a lot of traction with the people who are part of the same ecosystem. And that's the real danger, because what is being attempted is to break tradition. And as we've seen over the last 1 hour, breaking tradition is the most important step for them, that is in destroying that culture. This whole idea of everybody will be equal, when history has told us that there has never been a time when any society has been equal. Equality is a pipe dream. It doesn't happen at all.
It is. And I just kind of, I was just thinking as you were speaking, so here we are sitting and talking about tradition, breaking tradition and things like that. But in my observation, especially with artists, right, the natural flow of thought is, okay, I'm an artist, I've spent X amount of years learning, and I have become a performer. Now I want to be known as a performer worldwide. I want worldwide opportunities. I want to be up in every sabha, every organization. I want my fame and I want my glory. So I think it's really about, I wonder if it is so much about tradition and what am I having, what am I a conduit of, what am I doing, versus I have this, now where can I take this and where can I move? I think that's the general path where the flock is heading to, which is why there are so many ways where people are finding avenues to find that fame and glory. I think Ram was making that very wonderful statement in your conversation the other day. The first one, right? When somebody goes behind fame and glory, they want it. Once they have it, they don't know what to do with it. Something to that effect he was mentioning, right? So I think overall, see, it is very natural. If I am an artist, if I'm a performer, I do want to perform. I want people to see my art. Performative aspect of art cannot be disregarded. But equal opportunity, equality, we are all the same. We are not. There are no equal opportunities. There are very less number of opportunities, more number of people wanting to grab that opportunities. And it's really the ones who have that, what do you say, that kind of a mentality to say, I am getting this fame no matter what, are the ones who are surviving right now. And they will try to hold on to that post. And if their family, somebody is coming up, it will ensure that it is in that sphere. It's, if you actually look at the dance sphere, it is not really very conducive. It is not very harmonious. And in such a scenario, if one is talking about self-realization, awareness, conduit to divinity, which is what they all anyway talk about. It's a nice cloak to wear and say that I'm following a divine art form. But the kind of things that I am doing, or my actions, are they in tandem with that thought, is anybody's guess.
The yeah, so that's the reason. I think even you spoke of opportunities, even the wanting to have equality of opportunities is an ideal that one can attempt to do. I don't know if it may not succeed, but it's okay. But what we are attempting to do, as Dr. Jordan Peterson keeps saying, is that we are trying to fix the outcomes. We want equality of outcomes. For example, we want this many, I'm taking this example, this many women in the board of directors of an organization, in order to ensure that patriarchy is destroyed. We're not saying merit would be the
yes.
So I'm saying if merit says that in a board of say 10 people, the 7 best are actually women, have them. But you can't say that just because there has been patriarchy, which again, there are multiple reasons we know. We will fix the outcome. We will say there will be 5 women, there'll be 5. That's not how it is. So you're giving merit you're not saying merit is no longer important. So we're not actually trying to equalize opportunities. We are actually trying to equalize outcomes, which is a slippery slope. And we have consistently seen how that has played out across the board. The quality of the people who are emerging across multiple. This one is a huge topic that we perhaps, but that is single biggest issue that we are facing right now. So
yeah, it's very relevant to the art field to see. For example, right, say if I want to be known as an India-wide well-known dancer, right? So I have these specific sabhas I should be on in a slot. Okay. Now, how do I go there? And if you look at the curation of these specific sabhas, if you just take their curation for the past 5 years, right? Same set of dancers are there. So, and invariably between them, it's the same rotation of dancers, and they are just there. Same old faces again and again and again. So then what does it tell for the other aspiring dancers? Does it mean that because I'm not on that sabha, I'm not a dancer of that caliber? Many perceive it so. If I say I'm a dancer, they say, "Oh, music academy la shows kudupela." I said, "You think it's so easy to go to music academy and give shows?" It's not, right? So does that make me a lesser dancer? Me meaning, I'm not saying me personally, but there are several talented, very hardworking, deserving dancers and musicians who are brilliant. But do they have all the equal opportunities? Why are these sabhas curating it in the same way? They have to reconsider it. One Margadi season, you want thousands of performance. Spread it up. Use a database. Use technology to see how you can have a rota of people coming in. Have a better system to get your selection process. Change your board. Figure out innovative methods to get more artists. It is possible if one wants to do it. But one wants to stick to that saying, this is how it is, and we will allow the whole entire flock of people to fight and find their ways through this maze. And then once they arrive, it is very, it is a very accomplishing feeling. it's very disillusioning for many practitioners. For example, uh, uh, as a teacher, what I often ask myself this question: as a teacher of dance, uh, I'm confident that I will impart the art to a certain level, but I'm really not confident of telling my students that, hey, if you are with me, I will take you there, because I by myself don't know how to get there. Many of us are in this boat. What option do you have left, you tell me? But if these sabhas, if these organizers actually put their thought to a certain extent, the opportunities can be normalized. Say you don't have only one in January, but you have concerts all through the year. Figure out innovative if you want to do it, especially now when technology with people bringing out of the box solutions. It is definitely possible, but it is not done like that. So you see the same set of people, they will be there for 10-15 years, by which time the one who is aspiring is already gone into the midlife, and then we'll end up being frustrated artists. And when you're frustrated, it's very difficult to use dance as for realization and sahasrara opening. You're on the
Forget
base.
Right. So I'm going to make a segue now. So you do make quite a lot of posts on freeing Hindu temples, and I've also, it's something that I'm very keen on. I've written quite extensively on what I call the secular loot of Hindu temples. At least there's a four-part there are 4 parts to the articles that I've. I mean, these are not articles. This is not my opinion. I've actually compiled across 4 longish kind of blog posts of actual loot, reported loot, that have gone to courts, that have where people have been arrested, nothing has come of it, or temple gold being stolen, or money being routed to things that are outside of the sacred space, and all of those things. So and I'm already well into my part 5 of it, which means that it's consistently going on, and it's been something. So I just wanted to touch upon that. And I think many of your posts have also talked about how not freeing temples and having temples being controlled by secular governments has meant that many of the things that the temple ecosystem allowed, which is the temple being a living ecosystem, like for example dancers in your case being able to freely perform there, express, have the freedom of expressing their art, that has severely become restricted in that sense. So I just wanted to, because I've seen quite a few posts of yours that speak of it, and therefore, and how you've had to do it, in the Marai Mugama, you wanted to do it and kind of a thing. So
we have to like sneak and quickly finish it off and run before the authorities.
So just wanted you to speak about that. So.
Yeah, I'm going to be very idealistic in this, but I really believe that music and dance should be a constant feature in temples. There is absolutely no two ways about it. Temples, especially the bigger ones, the alive ones, which has a certain specific energy and which has a tradition of dance, they must begin to have regular dance and music in their temples. That is only way where the local dancers and musicians will have a sense of belonging. Otherwise, there is no way they'll get to Chennai Music Academy, right? And it is also a way of, personally for me, every time I have danced in the temple, whether I have sneaked or I have danced, it has been a tremendous experience that has that I don't even have a word for it. There is something there when you dance and when you sing in temples. And I don't want to be able to put it in words, because then it will really bring down the value of what those experiences are. Anybody who does that will have that experience for sure, because of the energy that resides in its space. When I talk about freeing Hindu temples, this is what I mean, that please bring back and don't make it difficult for dancers and musicians to come. Music is still okay, you can sing, they are okay with music, but they are not okay with dance at all. I remember last year we were in Tanjavur when we sneaked on this performance, and I was speaking to one of the Oduvars there, and we were talking about this free Hindu temples. He also had a very valid point. Freeing Hindu temples is one. What is going to happen after that freeing of Hindu temples? The person who's going to come later, how much of, how knowledgeable is that person going to be? How much of investment he's going to have in the concept of temples, its history, what it is going to do to the ecosystem within the temples. And his fears were quite valid. He said, today the government, as a Oduvar, is giving me X amount of money that comes to my bank every day. But if somebody else takes it, I am afraid, I don't know what is going to happen to me. So I think at the ground level, one does also have to think very clearly, if our temples are freed, what will be the points of action and what are we going to do? I think that clarity is required at that higher level. Dance, especially in temples, are in such a sad state. I mean, it's very sad that a dancer has to go to temples, sneak. And the same Oduvar said, don't dance here because it will be looked commercial and they will get very upset. I'm like, what commercial? I mean, Tanjavur, the authorities, the temple authorities, the governing authorities, I think they look at it commercially, so you can't. It happens in Chidambaram too. They will not allow you to dance. So you have the Chidambaram, you see the deity here, and then you have the Govindaraja here.
But
you
the
have the big Kamalam. You can't actually dance there. So they'll say, Anga poi adunga. And then if you go there, they'll say, Ningale paadi, Ningale adunga. If we put that mobile and we have our thing, that is commercial, off pannidunga. Ningale paadinga, ningale adunga. Illana ponga, he will say. I mean, I'm just saying, just give me 2 minutes. I've come to Chidambaram. I just want to dance for him, right? And he'll say, if you start, so many people will start. But isn't that what Chidambaram about? If you have 100 people coming and dancing, that's what it is, right? So that's a pain point, Ramesh. I mean, freeing Hindu temples, I think, is a very broad cause. But I hope, I mean, on the higher level, the people who are actually involved in it, I do hope that they take into consideration, because I don't think it's that easy. I mean, at the running of the temple, if you're thinking about bringing art back, how do the micro aspects of it, I hope they will think of. And if we get there, I hope it will be, it will be a renaissance of sort. It would be lovely to have temples alive with Veda Goshti and music and dance and the upacharas, and to be able to keep it alive in very many ways. That would be beautiful. And when I write my posts, I talk about my personal experiences, because one, it is to record saying that this is possible. You ask me, right? Is that conduit possible? It is possible. I have experienced it. I might not be able to articulate it to that great effect, but it happens. And if one feels that way, then one must be given the opportunity to do it. So, which is just a small effort to record those thoughts on our temples. It should be alive. It should dance, music. They should happen regularly at temples, but it does not. It's very sad. If it does, then so many local artists get so much of opportunities, right? I mean, it can open up so many other channels for the artists to express themselves, find recognition, impart, build better rasikas, help people, spend their time more usefully than wasting with it.
Okay. Now, absolutely, the second point is correct. We need to, the temples have been living ecosystems. They no longer are, and therefore they are still living in one sense, but to make it the truly living ecosystems that they were, we need to bring on. And to answer your first question, in my limited understanding, I think those who are working towards freeing Hindu temples, including I think the Indic Academy, the Indic Collective, I think, and it's a question that I'm going to ask Ashish tomorrow when he's So that's so when he comes on board, I'm going to ask that question. I think, and I think Jay Sai Deepak also answered this in a way when he said, if we are working towards freeing the temples, do you think we're not thinking of how we need to structure the handling of it later? It's not like we're saying that the government would have. So that's the whole idea. I think that there is a structure. I'm not fully in the know in order to comment what is that framework that is being worked out, but clearly I think because even if we go to courts to get this done, I think even the courts would ask that such a framework be presented to them, and I think that is already being put together. Even T.R. Ramesh, for example, who's leading the movement across Tamil Nadu in terms of documenting as well as freeing Hindu, documenting the atrocities that happen, and also freeing the Hindu temples has also clearly said there is a framework that will involve all the stakeholders who are right now. There is only one stakeholder in a sense, and therefore all stakeholders would become part of the temple ecosystem. I think that is something that's already being worked on.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I know this is a huge movement, and it has it has several accomplished people heading it. I was just sharing that conversation with the Odu to just say that there is so much at the very ground level, and their fear is also because he shared it with me. I was just
absolutely I'm fine. I think I'm acknowledging that it's a valid point. All I'm saying is I think that the plans are include that kind of an integration where it also puts forward a plan. In the same context, in part 1 of my article, I also mentioned how in part 1 of my secular loot of Hindu temples, I had also documented how very strangely the pujari, the archaka of the temple at Chidambaram itself gets a pay that is lower than the security guard. I mean, that itself should tell us how much the current controllers of the temples think of the temple ecosystem.
No, so I agree. One of the, I mean, I'm just trying to see how to correlate it to art, because that's a very relevant point. I must share this. So during the Shivaratri, you have a lot of the Shivaratri dance melas that happen in Tanjavur, Chidambaram, and now it is happening in lots of places, right? Often, now I'm not judging it, but when it comes to dance performances, and there are a lot of people who on the pretext of, I mean, having these dances in these places, they are squandering a lot of money. So there is a downside to that too. Now, if I want to dance in Chidambaram, it comes with a certain amount of money that I have to shell out. Similarly in Tanjavur, and I've had personal experiences of it. So that is also not a very nice, kind of a parallel system that is working in. And it kind of, it's a very difficult scenario, because one, you are looking at kind of, what's the word? Bringing down the whole concept of dancing in a temple and associating it with an X amount of money and saying, you pay this, I'll arrange for your program there. That's happening in a lot of temples. And there is also a kind of, there is some understanding between some people who are there in the temple, between some archakas. So we've been hearing those kind of things also happening. So what I'm just trying to draw the attention to here is that because of the fact that art is not thriving in the temple, these are some of the channels that are not so pleasant channels that are also kind of slowly blooming. with a lot of NRI people coming in, and they also want to dance. It's easy to kind of give that money and dance there and find somebody who can arrange it for you, and that also kind of plays a little bit in my mind. So that is happening a lot. Yeah, so one must wait to see how these things will be handled if and when we get to that point.
I think one other thing in the same context, which I think needs to be brought out, but it's a government order that has subsequently been withdrawn, which is this notice to temples over noise pollution. It's one of the reasons, because it's not just about the notice, but also how it has been framed, because I wanted to have this recorded so that people actually know, because it says after trying to regulate the volume of azans at mosques, the state government is now going after temples to curb noise pollution. In the latest move, the police have begun sending notices to temples following directions of the Karnataka State Pollution Control Board on violations of noise pollution rules under the Environment Protection Act of 1986 and amended according to the 2010 amended noise pollution control rules under the Environment Protection Act. So the temples that that have received the notices, our Dodda Ganapati temple in Basangudi. Okay. And then the Bull Temple, of course. If Dodda Ganapati gets it, obviously Bull Temple will get a notice as well. So and the Karanji Anjaneya temple, also around that place. So this one, and Mallikarjuna Swami temple, and all of these temples, are, I think, if I'm not wrong, controlled by the endowment kind of HRC kind. I think they've come under that. I'm not sure, but I think they are. Now we have allowed the use of bells and sound system as long as they are within the permitted noise levels, it says. Now the point being, while I think Jay Sai Deepak again made that point the other day, where he says, if you want to slap somebody else, it's important that you also slap the Hindus a little. Only then you can slap somebody else. There are 2 points that I had. I mean, I know you did share your thoughts on this. So before you come into it, I'll share a couple of thoughts on this. One is that in the Hindu temples, I do not do it 5 times a day. One, and two, I do not claim that my God is the only God and there is no other who is greater than mine. I don't do it. I don't do both. So I'm saying there is an essential difference between what I do versus you do. And I think the Kanchi Paramacharya was also asked this question: why is this? Why are your temples so noisy? He says, our Bhagavan is our Lord. He's the king. So or Sabapati or a king, how will you treat him? Will it be silent like like it's a funeral? No, we will celebrate. We'll beat the drums. We'll blow our nadaswaram. We will do all of these things. That's the only way we know how to do it. I'm also framing it with how the Kanchi Paramacharya. I'm just paraphrasing what he said. He wouldn't, but he's also on record having responded to such a question. So.
I mean, I haven't followed this. I just briefly read it, but I didn't pay attention. But personally, right, I'll tell you, when we do walk into say a Tiruvannaikaval or I mean, there is, see, I'm talking about those blaring, horrifying cinema things that these shops, that is a noise. I mean, and even on the streets, your Ganesha Bhajan Mandali, I'm talking about Karnataka. I mean, I'm talking about Bangalore per se. My parents' house in the heart of the city in Jayanagar, and if it's August, I dread it because the worst of the songs are played with a huge Ganesha in between. I have personally every year, and I will continue to do it. I'll go to the shopkeeper, I'll shout at him, and I'll say, switch off the damn thing. And I'll say, don't play it in the afternoon. And I'll tell him, use these music, don't play this. Why does Ganesha want Choli Ke Piche and things like that?
Right.
So, I mean, I can't comment on the actual stuff, but it's true. Like recently, I went to Manargudi and I had parked the car outside. And when I'm coming in, oh, what songs!
Right. No, that absolutely. There's no debate about that.
I
I mean, the kind of
mean,
songs that are played, and they will even
yeah, so
justify it saying, "Avarkum santoshama," kind of thing.
yeah. Why does
No, I've
Krishna only
actually,
need to listen to your
Ama,
pasudams? Let him also listen to cinema songs.
listen to no.
Yeah. So,
Because I myself have heard, even in Mysore, Bangalore, they'll say,
yeah.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ಏನ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ, ಅವ್ರಿಗೂ ಇದಾಗ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ. ಎಲ್ಲ ಇದೇ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಇಲ್ಲಿರೋರು ಇದು ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ. That kind of a thing.
Yeah. I mean,
that is what.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I haven't. I mean, I've been really not paid attention that I've not read about it, so I can't comment. But
right.
yeah, we could do with less noise. I mean, let's
absolutely
listen to the what are the
no, but what they're trying to control right now is even this the noise of the bells, if I'm not wrong. I read somewhere even that how, I think how I don't know, but
how
I don't know. I'm not sure if that is I'm not sure if that is correct, but I think the whole idea of the when the arati happens, I think they also have that drum that is this one, right? In I've seen it in Dodaganapati temple. I've seen it in Bull temple also. They have a
but I
drum
don't
that
know.
is,
Does it cause a sound pollution?
It doesn't cause sound pollution.
I don't know.
So that also. So maybe they're I don't know. So that's just wanted to quickly bring that into the. We're talking of freeing Hindu temples. We're also talking about we're also talking about how we need to. So we are almost 92 minutes into this. So
wow.
Time flies. When you're in a when you're talking of these things, and when the conversation is really flowing organically. So I think we touched upon the divinity and all of those things. I think most of the questions that we had in mind that we discussed. So I just want a couple of things. Is that I always touch upon this, the kolam, the rangoli that you do on a daily basis, how that happened, and if you could also tell people if they want to get in touch with you, or where do they need to follow you, if that's okay with you. How do they do that?
I mean,
social media, your social media channels, buttons, whatever.
Kolam again. I think it's been it goes back to the question that you ask, right? When you say, does certain things become conduit to your to your journey? I think I'm just sharing my personal experience. Kolam has been that for me. When I initially started out, it was just the drawing, but I think over these 2 years, with about 700, 800 kolams, I can share that when it is done with a certain sense of intention, and after that, when I associate it either with a saying of somebody, and trying to steer the mind towards some reflection, or towards words that enable you to reflect and go inner. It has helped tremendously, and I have read so many quotes. It has personally made a sea of difference to me. It's been a very, very rewarding journey. As I said the last time, I think anybody who wants to do the kolam, they must just pick up the habit and do it, because it can definitely serve as a pathway. And there are some people who write saying that, especially the Friday columns, when I put the semana, right? Friday and Saturdays are auspicious for us. So when I put the semana, of course, the column reveals itself very differently. And there's some people who say, I can see the Devi seated in her. They're all very huge words for me. But it has taught me that is a possibility, because I just write it. I draw the column when I create them, I also create with that, with that seeking in my mind, saying, please, please show me some way to reach you. So personally, for me, it is my way of seeking the higher power for me, it is a longing to say, to try some ways to see, do I have the grace? I'm really searching for it. I'm really longing for that validation, saying, yes, I'm here, I'm watching you. So my column is really that.
Right. I think sorry, go ahead.
No, and anybody who can reach me, yeah, please. I'm on Facebook. I have the same Rama Venugopalan on Instagram, RAMAA. So please reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to share. And I mean, I started doing those videos, but it's a little time consuming. But yeah, and I don't have that correct equipment to record it, and the mornings are a little tight. But I will try to write those videos. But really, Instagram is filled with a lot of beautiful column artists. There are a lot of videos which talk about small columns that you can try. And please feel free, reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to share and give.
I think I need to be a little bit more active on Instagram. I'm not at all there.
Yeah. No, don't come to Instagram.
So I think we can wind this down, Rama. It's been an absolute pleasure. I think we spoke on multiple topics and multiple themes. I think the earlier conversation was, in that sense, we spoke about only one aspect of it. But I think here we explored. We not only explored in terms of width, but also in terms of depth. I think to me that is it's been most enjoyable. I didn't note the time going. It's
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So thank you so much, Ramesh. I mean, it's I think I must thank you simply because you wanted to bring these thoughts about art out into the open, and not that it's not there in the open, but these conversations are important, where you do have a space where you can actually speak what it is for. It's not really to pinpoint or judge or throw the the accusation back at anybody, but to say, can we all please look at what it is and understand that we are having multiple things to handle in the art scenario. Otherwise, one only looks at art as divinity, but the reality is different. We should have a slightly pragmatic approach to even perceive arts and artists. And I think even the last conversation on this, I hope, has at least recorded it in some way. I don't know how articulate I have been.
No, it's been wonderful. I think
in whatever which way I feel, if it's recorded, it might help a few others to kind of have these conversations. So, and it's such a pleasure talking to you. I really enjoyed. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'll share the long form as well as yes. I've also decided that we'll break this up into little segments also, so that people can consume it.
The shorts are good.
More easily. So I'll do that.
Yeah, sure.
So thank you, and thank you everyone who has watched, and thank you.
Yes, bye-bye. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.